Dr. Barbara Jensen from the Gautrain. Welcome to the Red Zone.
Thanks.
Now, on a macro level, what are the challenges when it comes to marketing a system like the Gautrain?
Sure. How long do we have? When we look at system market, when you look at a system such as Gautrain, you have to consider two aspects of marketing, which is system marketing, and that's literally getting bumps on the set. And this would entail also communication around timetables, fares, bus routes, operational hours, etc. Then looking at Gautrain as a public-private partnership, the concession company, the private partner, is responsible for system marketing. We have to, as the Gautrain Management Agency, also have to look at growing the system, but also growing public transport and the acceptance of public transport in South Africa. And that's where the difficulty comes in. And we looked at quite a couple of systems around the world to benchmark at what they are doing. And the Gautrain Management Agency decided that we are going to look into growth marketing, which is growing Gautrain as a system, but based more on lifestyle, making public transport, or trying to make public transport a lifestyle choice, looking at activities around Gautrain stations and make them lifestyle nodes.
I suppose there's a lot more importance around communication as opposed to just a marketing media platform.
Yes, that's, when we started constructing Gautrain, and when we started with planning way back in 2000, we commenced with the construction in 2006, we realized that communication will be vital, because that will prepare your market for marketing, to that sort of soft sell, getting into the concept of public transport, of using Gautrain. So communication was is still very important, especially again from the Gautrain Management Agency side, because as the custodians of the brand, as the owners of the system, we have a far more long-term approach than what the concession company or the operating, they've got a 15-year concession period. We'll have to run the system as long as Gautrain is running.
And what are the challenges when it comes to brand ownership and governance?
It's quite challenging. What we find with Gautrain, and I've not worked on any other corporate brands or major brands, but what we find is that the fact that Gautrain is seen as a government project, as a public entity, people think that they can use the brand whenever they like. We have hotels in Pretoria that all of a sudden call themselves the Pretoria Gautrain Hotel. We have relationships, third-party agreements with for example, with the Radisson Blues and in Sandton that use the name, still using the name, but also within government, they see that they can just use the Gautrain brand whenever they like, whenever it suits them, and it takes quite a lot of brand governance. And we do that almost on a daily basis, managing how the brand is being used.
The Gautrain brand and the marketing team specifically have put a huge role into social media marketing as a very important platform. Where are the different spaces that you're playing in here, and what are the challenges that you've been facing?
Well, way back when one of the ladies working for me came to me and said she thinks we should go on Facebook. So I've looked at her and said, what? We have the internet. If I now have to decide between our internet site, the website, and Facebook, it will be a difficult decision. So we use Facebook a lot, but more and more we find Facebook is more used for the more kind of social soft issues. Twitter, we've got over 30,000 Twitter followers. Twitter is used to, we often, more often than not, get to know about disruptions on the system as a communication team, about disruptions on the system before we get officially communicated through by the operating control center, because the Twitter feed then starts picking up. So we use Twitter a lot for communicating operational disruptions and any kind of other general information.
I suppose it's a lot more real time than...
Far more real time. I mean, the ideal is to have someone managing social media that sits in the operating control center. Because the moment that a crisis, when we have a train out or crisis on a platform, the first priority that the operating company has is to solve the technical problem, to get the system rolling again. Then they start thinking about communication, and that's a given. I mean, but you should have someone in the operating control center also looking at social media.
Now, there's another marketing and advertising medium that the Gautrain stations and venues per se are being used for quite a lot, and that's outdoor media.
Yeah.
What are the disadvantages and advantages of using the station to advertise brands?
Well, for me, yes, the disadvantage is it clutters up, the advertising clutters up stations, but we're managing it very well. You know, we fortunately, by the time that we started selling advertising at the stations, had lessons to learn from how AXA managed theirs. And we looked at what AXA did. But Gautrain offers a unique medium in Gauteng to communicate to a very dedicated audience. We have about 1 million passenger trips, over 1 million passenger trips a month. 73% of those are between the ages of 24 and 49, 57% female, 57% black. And about 79% of those people use Gautrain on a weekly and on a daily basis. So that gives you quite a unique platform, and we see that in the way that the advertising sells on the Gautrain system.
So specific brands who want to speak directly to that audience,
yes,
they would benefit the most from.
Yeah. And I think, you know, if you look at brands that are currently at Centurion Station, Momentum has almost sold out, bought out the station. At Owatamba Station, Standard Bank advertises since the day we opened, before we opened, and still have that space. And it's sold out Standard Bank. And that from an owner perspective is great, because your station is then almost uniform. You don't have a red Vodafone ad or Vodacom ad and a blue Standard Bank ad and a yellow MTN ad. So it looks a bit better, you know. From what I also have to look at is the brand the brand relationship that people have with the brand, you know. And I look at the system as a commuter. What assaults my attention when I go down into the system or into the system. So but it is a unique, and we see more and more people, more and more companies wanting to advertise on the Gautrain system. One thing that we will never, is a very long time, but we will not sell the outside of the train as advertising space, and also the outside of the exterior of the buses, because that's the best brand advertisement, the best advertisement, the buses running, the golden buses running in the streets, as well as your train. And we had many offers and a lot of money for people that want to brand the trains in whatever their colours are and get their message across. But that's one of the only, the train is one of the only unique mediums that we have to get our message across.
Yeah, it's the only place you really have to brand that's completely yours.
I mean, I remember using the Heathrow Express and walking down a year later when I got to London, all of a sudden the Royal Scotland Bank train pulled into the station, and you sort of had a double take. You know, I don't use it often. I use it when I get to London once a year, once every second year. So it was quite a shock when I saw this train pulled in and and they make lots of money out of branding the trains.
Well, Barbara, thank you very much for your insight and for joining us this morning.
Thank you.